Okay, I'll call our village board meeting for September 19th, 2022 to order. Roll call, please.
Nyla Fry.
Here.
Gary Hersberg.
Here.
Phil Willems.
Here.
Chris Sellner.
Here.
Aaron Moran.
Here.
Joe Zitzelsberger.
Here.
Sam Kaufman.
Here.
Okay, confirmation of open meeting compliance, public postings, official notices, and online availability.
I can confirm that the draft agenda was published in the Waunakee Tribune on 9/16. The final agenda was posted in all three official posting locations on 9/14, and the final agenda and packet were made available online on 9/14. Two notes to request of the audience. Please be sure you sign in on the sign-in sheet for accurate record keeping. And those interested in participating in the public comment portion, please just be sure to fill out a form and hand it to me prior to that agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have consent agenda. Would anybody like anything pulled, or I'd look for a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Joe Zitzelsberger, second by Nyla Fry. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Public comment. Is there anyone here who'd like to make a comment to the board this evening for anything on or off the agenda?
We have Maria Pat at 1000 Wexford Drive.
Good evening. I'm going to start out with a little bit of a story. Bear with me. There is someone in our family that is going through a difficult time right now. He's 55. He's got a nice wife. He's got 2 adult kids, and one of those kids has twin sons. And he's dying. And he's dying because of his bad habit of tobacco chewing. I have real concerns about the kinds of businesses that are coming into town that are focusing specifically on tobacco and nicotine products. I think it's bad for our environment, I think it's bad for our students, and I think it's bad for everyone. It's my guess that someone sitting at a table or in a chair knows someone who has died because of cigarettes or other tobacco and nicotine products. I went into one of our local businesses that was kind of sarcastically said to me a couple of months ago when I mentioned this, that, oh, there are a lot of places in town that sell that stuff. Yeah, there are. They're called convenience stores, grocery stores, pharmacies, and I question their purpose for being there. I walked into one of these places the other day and I purchased something else that I was there for and commented when I checked out, interesting, cigarettes, tobacco, chewing tobacco, cigars, right next to the smoking cessation products. I found that a bit ironic, and it was in the pharmacy. I went to the Plan Commission meeting last week where a major topic of discussion was a new business coming into town called a cigar bar. And the irony there is that it's going to be in a livable community. So when the time comes, please think about what's coming into town and what it does, rather than who benefits from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, then we'll move on. First, we have a presentation. Whoop,
I just
Go
just
ahead.
have a couple of things to follow up for the referendum upcoming. So that you have before you on your spots, but for the public's benefit, within the next week or so, there will be the first mailer going out, information packet regarding the referendum. It looks something like this. It'll look a little bit better because it'll actually be folded up properly into a proper mailer. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be posting about that on social media as well for people to watch out for that. Because it'll be pretty easy to mistake for something you might just otherwise, toss aside. So don't do that. Second comment would be our first public information meeting will be concurrent with the October 3rd village board meeting, and that board meeting will be held at the library to accommodate hopefully a larger crowd. So just please make note of that the next board meeting will be at the library.
Okay,
That's what I've got.
thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have a presentation, update from Waunakee Community School District on upcoming referendum. Randy, I assume this is you
Yes,
and
that's
Steve?
it.
Okay.
We get started?
Sure.
All right, thanks, Chris. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Randy Gutenberg. I'm the superintendent for Waunakee Community School District. With me today is Steve Summers. He's our executive director of operations. We realize we have about 20 minutes here tonight. We gave this presentation last week. It took us a little over an hour, so we'll spare you of that. We will move through it very quickly. If anybody is interested in the longer version, it is up on our website, and actually Steve and I will be presenting something similarly at our Performing Arts Center at the high school this Wednesday. So those are a few things, but I'm going to get moving real quickly to respect your time. What we want to really talk to you about tonight is what's going on with our facilities and how we're looking to kind of keep them up and to accommodate the growth that's happening in our community. I think we've all appreciated and benefited from our children going through and our school district. We have great pride in the things that our community is able to support and what they have really supported us in the work that we do, and we want to continue moving those pieces forward. When we start to look at our referendums, there's a number of things that we're looking at. Particularly, we're looking at enrollment growth, and we're looking at really what are we doing with our facilities and how many dollars do we want to put forth into some of them, particularly our older one, and we'll be talking about heritage in that respect here this evening. But when we take a look at this piece, the two photos on the right-hand side, I think, really give a really good picture of really two different dichotomies within our community. We have Heritage Elementary, where excellent education occurs, but you can see the differences in the accommodations and the learning environment that we have between our intermediate school, which was built about 9 years ago. You can see that there's a lot of things that are incorporated into the intermediate school that we want to have for all of our students, and to offer those, we need to look at some different facilities in order to do that. We've done some accommodations where we've been able to make some remodeling in some of our other buildings to accomplish that, bringing in daylighting, creating collaboration spaces, and looking at ways that we can accommodate kind of the way our teachers teach our students today. But those are two things that really are driving some of the things that we're also talking about, is how do we create learning environments that regardless of where you live in the community, you have access to them. In a few minutes, I'll talk to you about what's going on at our middle school. Our middle school is one of our areas at capacity. We have two mobile units behind school, which has 4 classrooms. So on any given hour, we have about 100 students in the mobile units behind the school building. Those are pieces because our capacity at our current middle school, we are over capacity, and we've really moved our students out into the mobile units. And our intent is to really have facilities that accommodate our growth and ones that accommodate how we teach. So those are the things that we'll be talking about here this evening. When we take a look at our enrollment growth, this chart just really shows some of the things that are happening within our middle school. We're anticipating about 213 additional students between now and 2035, an additional 1,375 over that time period district-wide. Just as kind of a piece of kind of what's our historical growth. This is my 15th year in Waunakee. We've gained 1,000 kids in that time period. And our growth continues to move forward, and we have trends that are showing that. So if you'd like to dive a little bit more into some of our enrollment growth, we do have some information on a frequently asked questions piece on our website. But when we take a look at growth, we have growth happening in our elementary schools, which is precipitating us needing to make decisions about Heritage Elementary and where we're going to go with growth and expansion of facilities, and then also at our middle school. Capital maintenance is also an area across our district that we have many needs. We have about north of $20 million worth of deferred maintenance, so that'll be a piece that the referendum will also address. That's just a picture of what some of those things look like at Heritage Elementary. And an operational piece. We're also looking at a referendum that also asks us to help have dollars not only for facilities, but also to operate some of the things within our schools. And really what we are looking for there are really 3 different things. One is to maintain our quality staff and recruit staff. I mean, that's really important. We're a people business. Our teachers are the backbone of what we do with kids every day, and we need to recruit them and keep them when we have them in our system. The second piece that we need to do is operate our facilities as we add more space. And the third piece is to maintain programs, particularly things we've added over the pandemic, that were actually on our visioning cycle prior to the pandemic coming. We had some funding that allowed us to move those things forward over the last few years, and we find great value in them and want to maintain those moving forward. I think an important piece for our community to think about is really where we've been. And I'm going to jump forward just a second, because this story actually started in 2010. If you remember when we added the second floor to the high school, that was actually part of a long-range plan when we did some renovations prior to that at the high school. But at that point also, there was an elementary school project that was part of the 2010 referendum that did not pass. And when we went back out and talked to our community about what really precipitated them voting that part of the project down, they shared with us that they didn't feel we had a robust long-term plan that told us where we were going as a district. So we took 3 years between 2010 and 2013 to really put together that plan. And that plan was really grounded on 3 things. It was grounded on 1 central high school in the center of town, 1 middle school, 1 intermediate school, and a grade configuration conversation we needed to have as a community. And what we came up with at that time was the community wanted us to stay with K through 4 at our elementary, 5, 6 intermediate, 7, 8 middle school, 9, 12 high school. And that's really what you saw in the first phase of our project. We added on to Prairie because of some space needs. We renovated Heritage because that was an area that we were now going to start moving more students to. We needed to create a little better learning environment for some of our elementary students as that school grew. We built the brand new intermediate school. We also did some maintenance across the district. And then we had a question that also allowed us to exceed revenue caps for the purpose of really operating the new space that we created. In 2019, we started planning for phase 2. And that really, I want to come back to the first part there, which I believe is right here. This renovation of Heritage is a really important piece, and it's a change of what's happened from where we were in 2019. Because what the second phase was we were going to have a referendum in the fall of 2020 that was going to have additional renovations or an addition to Heritage. We were going to have a new middle school. We were then starting the concept of our current middle school becoming part of the high school campus, and then some district-wide maintenance, some minor office remodels out at the administrative building, and again, a question to operate our schools and exceed the revenue limit. But before we got to that point, in the spring of 2020, the school board put a hold on our planning for that referendum, mainly because we were starting to enter the pandemic, and we felt that was a time that we should put a hold on going to the community in the fall with that type of a question. So that's really what's precipitated us then continuing after the pandemic, and we're starting to reimagine what our long-range plan looks like, starting in January of 2022. We took a look at our enrollment projections, and we looked at trying to refine our options moving forward, all in the anticipation of moving to referendum this fall on November 8th. So what's really changed over that time period? From 2013-14, when we built the intermediate school, to 2019-20 to now. First of all, our focus has stayed the same because the cornerstones of that plan are still on the high school, 1 middle school, 1 intermediate school, and grade configurations as we've known them in our community. We've also had to have a conversation about what are we going to do with Heritage? Because as our board took a tour of that facility, one of the things that they really were contemplating was how many dollars do we put into that school that was built onto 13 times since 1936? And also, how is it going to function as an elementary school if we build it out at its full capacity? And one of the decisions that we came to that we wanted to vet out in the community was, what if we just decided that it's really come to end of life and we built a new Heritage? So that was some of the pieces that we talked about and we brought forward in our survey to the community this last spring, was kind of, what are your thoughts on Heritage? Because that has a lot of history for us as a community. And then also starting to look at kind of where do you envision, because we also have needs at our middle school, where do you envision some of these schools being placed? So one of the conversations that we had was really starting to contemplate where do they fall. And the decisions that we've come up with and with feedback from the community was that Heritage would go next to the intermediate school for a couple of reasons. 1, we feel it fits well on that site. 2, they have staggered start and end times from an elementary and the intermediate school, so we can address some of the traffic issues on Woodland. Putting a middle school out there there's not enough space to do some of the amenities like some of the practice fields, et cetera, that support those programs. So and the other piece we found was that as we talked to the people from the community through our survey, it came back that keeping the middle school in proximity to the high school made some sense from a programmatic standpoint, and also being just down the road from a co-curricular standpoint. So those were the decisions that we made, and those are a few of the things that changed as we went through our long-range plan from 2014 to 2019 to today. So our question that you're going to see on the referendum is going to be there's going to be two questions. The first one is $175 million. This is a 5-year build-out project. It will include a new Heritage Elementary at the intermediate school site. It would be right adjacent to it. The second, and that will be a 6-track elementary, so that is about think about 6 classrooms per grade level. That's really generally the size of Prairie Elementary. Arboretum is a 4-track elementary, but we're looking at a little larger school. The middle school being built at the Heritage site. Once the Heritage school is built, then we would tear down the current Heritage building and put the middle school there. Many additional projects that we want to do to enhance our instructional programs, mainly at the high school, everything from our welding to renovating the small auditorium to adding a family restroom at the aquatic center, and some other auxiliary pieces across the district that we feel are necessary. Just to kind of give you an idea of how that sits, this is actually a picture of the intermediate school. This is Woodland Drive up here. This is where the elementary school would sit. One of the things we're in the process of working on is with the village and the planning, and your folks in your planning department on traffic and all the other timing pieces that go along with that. Again, this is a 6-section school with an approximate capacity of about 700 kids. We feel we can have that completed by the fall of '24. This is actually the siting of the middle school on the Heritage site. This will allow us to keep the 300-meter track in the back. It'll give us basically a football-sized field in the back that our students can participate in different things during the school day, FIAD, and then it's also a place where some of our co-curriculars would be after school. It's going to be a 900-student building, expandable up to 1,000, which will be congruent with the size of the intermediate school. And likely completion date is fall of 2026. There'll also be a second question on the referendum. This one will be specifically geared towards operations. It's a 3-year non-recurring referendum. School districts can ask 2 types of questions and exceed the cap type and scenarios. One is recurring, one is non-recurring. Recurring means you ask for the dollars and it stays on your base moving forward. Non-recurring means you get it for the number of years that you ask. So in this case, for 3 years, and it will be a build-up over 3 years. And then at the end of 3 years, we have to come back to the community and ask for support to continue with those funds. Part of the reason the school board wanted to look at a 3-year non-recurring at this point is just with some of the volatility in the market and wanting to see really what the next state budget and subsequent budgets will be before we start to try to make long-range projections as far as what our financial needs are. We feel it'll give us a better chance to really have accurate numbers for our needs going forward. But we do need to let the community know in that 3rd year of this referendum, we will be back asking for additional funding to maintain the programs that we're putting in place. Again, just like I said before, there were 3 main purposes. One is attracting and retaining staff. So of the $6 million, $4.1 million is for staff. Maintaining existing programs is approximately $1.6 million of that, and then additional costs with construction that we will incur is about $0.3 million or $300,000. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Steve Summers and let him talk a little bit about the actual financing of the project.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you this evening. I just want to share at a high level what the financial plan is for the referendum and what the school board's current policy is regarding finances. There's 3 points I just want to make sure I can share with you and that I'm trying to share with all of the community members at the presentations that we attend. The first is that the school district's property tax levy will not change based on the referendum results. So a school board has to approve the tax levy by November 1st. The vote isn't until November 8th. So the school board will be approving tax levies in advance of the referendum vote, and then we will be certifying the tax levy by November 10th based on the result of the referendum. The school board will either approve the funding of paying existing debt, So that is one scenario. So if both referendum questions are not approved by the community, the school board will fund paying existing debt. Or the school board will fund the costs of the referendum questions if they are approved. And it is possible that one question could be approved and the other one might not be. So the school board will fund either the questions that pass or paying down existing debt. The school district tax rate after 22-23 will not exceed our current rate of $10.89. So the long-term plan as well does not exceed the tax rate that we currently are. One question that you may have, and I'll fast forward to this slide. As municipal officials, you are aware of the property value increase that has been received information from the state during the month of August. Our financial plan is based on property value increases this fall of 5% and then 3% moving forward. Our school board's budget committee is aware of the fact that the property values in the community are likely to increase beyond the level at which we had forecasted. So the school board's budget committee has approved us using language to say that increases in property values above the 5% may result in decreases to the tax rate. As a school district, we don't find out our property values until October. So at this point, we're communicating about the referendum without knowing what the property values for the school district, which has 7 different municipalities in it. We don't know what that is until October. But we can take the information that you have received and other municipalities have received to know that it's very likely that the property values throughout our entire school district are probably going to increase in the 14 to 16% range. So we're letting everyone know that we are aware of that, and that will likely result in a decrease to the tax rate. So we're just wanting to get that information out to make sure that we can properly communicate it. As an example, in one of the mailers, you're looking at one of your mailers, we had one that went out, or is going to go out, that's going to share that under either scenario, the referendums being approved or not approved, the tax rate remains the same and the tax levy remains the same. The referendum questions are more related to what we can actually do with the funds, either pay down existing debt, or if one or both of the questions pass, then the school board can fund those questions. The school board does have a long-term goal that has been in place for a number of years of keeping our tax rate consistent. So if you go back, the school board has been looking at a variety of financial strategies to keep the tax rate as consistent as possible. And the school board is looking to continue to do that into the future, even with this referendum. It's just looking at different strategies that will change on a yearly basis. So I know we're about at our limit. We do it for time. We do have a slide that shows where you can learn more. Like Randy said, we have an hour-long presentation that we recorded last week that the community is welcome to view. We're going to be out in a variety of different locations to share information and ask questions. Our website has frequently asked questions, so as questions come into us, we figure other people want to know about them too, so we put them on our website for everyone to see. So we share as much information as we can through our website. We'd be happy to take any questions tonight, either on the plan itself or the school board's approach to financing the plan. Either Randy or I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. Any questions? Nyla? Gary?
No, I think it's, one thing that I've seen is, I've seen some pretty positive response from the community, and I think you guys have put together a good plan, which is, I think will help you, hopefully move this forward.
Phil?
Fine with it.
Sam?
No questions.
Joe?
We're good.
Aaron?
No questions, thank you.
My only question is, With all those meetings, how are you gonna stay consistent with your presentation? No, I'm serious. Thank you guys for coming tonight, and this is a big undertaking for the community, not just of Waunakee, but as you said, all your jurisdictions, and I appreciate you getting out all the information to everyone, and I look forward to the vote, actually.
Thank you,
You guys
everybody,
are
really
too.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good job, Randy, thank you.
We do have another meeting at 7, so it's not that we're not interested in what you're all gonna be doing.
Sure.
We're heading out to
Yeah,
Westport
we've heard
tonight.
You never have anybody leave your meetings either.
Thank you.
All right. First item we have then is approve amended amplified music permit for Waunakee Chamber of Commerce for One Community Bank Badger Community Tailgate. I will be recusing myself from this, as that is my employer. I don't know who's presenting it.
I can head it up if you want.
Go ahead.
We got word that the game was scheduled for 6:30 that night, I think, 6:30? 6 or 6:30. And the game will be broadcasted an hour prior to the game starting, and then for testing the sound system out, and then an hour after the game. So that's why the time frame has been scheduled from 5 to 10 p.m. And it's just for broadcasting the game. It's not for DJs and music and things like that, it sounds like.
And this is exactly what we approved last
Exactly
time,
what you
right?
approved
Other
last
than time, okay.
I make a motion, we approve the amended amplified music permit for the Waunakee Area Chamber of Commerce for One Community Bank Badger Community Tailgate on September 24th this year.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Recused. Okay. Next, we have discuss and take action on 2023 health insurance. Jared?
Yep, I will take that one. So it's that time of year where we implement our health insurance for the upcoming plan year, as our open enrollment is the month of October. I do have, or I should say, we have with here Al Yeager from USI, our benefits consultant. He's here to correct me with any errors I make in what I say, or to fill in any blanks or technical questions you might have. So just to summarize, we went out and received some proposals. We had 5 in total, 3 from our current carrier, Quartz, 1 from Dean, and 1 from GHC. You do not see the GHC one before you. As I mentioned in the memo, they did not provide a model for our current plan design like we had requested. So we removed them from consideration. Within the past 3 to 4 weeks, we've held meetings with our employee health insurance committee to go over these proposals, get some feedback from them as well. And so what you see here before you are the 4 proposals that were remaining. Option 1 is our current plan design as far as the deductibles go for the family single. But the primary difference there is in order to, well, I guess I should back up. I omitted kind of an important part here. We were looking to keep, for budgetary feasibility, keep our increase at no more than 5%, so to keep it right around 5%. So all the options you see here are reflective of that. So option 1, to renew our current plan, came in at about 10.3%. So in order to get that down to about 5%, we would have to decrease the employer contribution from 88% down to 85%. The option 2 is staying with an aggregate deductible plan with Quartz, but it would increase the deductibles by $500 for single and $1,000 for family. So that would also correspond, though, in order to help offset that, we would increase the village HSA contribution amounts by $150 and $300 respectively, as far as single family. That results in an increase of 5.06%. Option 3 is also with Quartz, is a higher deductible yet, $4,000, $8,000, but that's an embedded deductible, which for the simplicity of our conversation here would just, it's a different way of incurring health insurance costs, where in some circumstances it can actually be cheaper for a family. If you have questions, I can answer that a little bit more, how that works, but suffice to say, it's a higher deductible plan. we would increase, or we would recommend, I should say, increasing the HSA contributions even further by $400 and $800 respectively. And then the final option would be the current plan design as we have now, the 3,000, 6,000, the same employer contribution of 88%, and an increase to the HSA contribution of $300 and $600, but that would be switching to the Dean network. So when we went over these different proposals, these options with the employee group, I think it was pretty clear that there was not a great deal of appetite for the Dean plan, despite the fact that Dean also had a second-year rate cap, so they would actually give us a 2-year deal, so we wouldn't be having this conversation again in a year. But as you can see there, the rate cap was 7.9%, so when we sat down and really thought about it, we thought, well, that's really not appealing enough to incentivize a change, because right now we're using a budgetary figure of 5%. So that cap is really not that appealing. We had discussed, as it was coming out of the conversation with the group, perhaps offering our employees an option. If we gave them 2 of these options, would they like that? And the employees expressed that if they were given a choice, even if it was both within quarts, that they would very much appreciate that. So with that, ultimately I come to our recommendation, which would be to recommend that we renew with quarts and offer employees the choice between option 2 and option 3, which you can see before you. Al, did I leave anything out?
No, I think you nailed it.
Okay.
Well done.
So with that, I would certainly be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Any questions? Sam?
No
Joe?
questions.
Can you dig a little bit more into the embedded versus aggregate deductibles?
Yep. So so right now an aggregate deductible, which is what we have now, and I'll just use the 3,000, 6,000, which we have now. 3,000 for a single, 6,000 for a family. You have a family. It doesn't matter who incurs the costs in whatever way. As a family, you need to meet $6,000 before the co-insurance kicks in.
Okay.
And so that would be the same case with the 35 and 7. In an embedded deductible, and here we have a 4,000, 8,000, same scenario, but if you have one family member who's incurring your costs and relatively everyone else is a relatively low user, once that individual member of the family hits the individual deductible, the co-insurance kicks in for them. So in this scenario, if we were giving employees a choice between option 2 and option 3, this is where my job really comes in, meeting with the employees and explaining these differences. You could theoretically see a savings between those 2 plans. You could be looking at a difference of $3,000. If you have a family unit where only one person's really incurring the claims, they're only hitting $4,000 under option 3 as opposed to an option 2 where it's an aggregate, you'd have to hit $7,000. Now, granted, that's a very narrow situation, but that's the best way to illustrate, where that would be beneficial to an employee.
Appreciate it, thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
Aaron?
No question.
Isla?
This is just, nothing to do with insurance, but I'm just curious, who was out, I don't need to know specifically who, but, Employee Insurance Committee.
Yep.
Did that have representation from all
Yes.
the different departments?
Yep, every department, including the utility and the library. Some departments have larger departments, we have multiple employees. Then they go back and discuss with their departments and get the feedback from them. It just helps streamline our process for getting the feedback
Okay.
from all the employees.
Is this the first time it was used, or has
No.
it been used before?
No,
Okay,
my
th-
understanding is this has been used multiple times. in the
Okay,
past.
thank you.
Okay. Good. Okay, Gary?
Yeah, I think, change is difficult in the healthcare world. It's hard to get appointments with new doctors, and I think it's important that employees feel comfortable. And it sounds like the court's plan gives them that option. I like that flexibility of letting them make a decision on what fits them best.
Phil?
I agree with Gary, it's hard breaking in a new doctor.
Did you say say it's heartbreaking in a new drafter?
Well, for me especially.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure I heard that right. So one of the mysteries of my mind always is that we have a clinic for Dean in Waunakee, and we don't have a courts location, but the courts is generally what the employees favor. Is that unique, Al, in this world, or?
It's interesting, you know, and I know the school just spoke, but the school has Dean and they have the clinic in town. Well, a lot of it has to do with the history. When you look over the last couple decades, the school was always aligned with the Dean network, and therefore the staff have a history of being aligned with the specialist in the primary care of Dean. With the village, we had ETF, the state plan before, and most everyone was on the state plan with quartz because it was, for the most part, the lowest cost option. It ain't the lowest cost option on ETF anymore, but we took advantage of having some better options independently. But to answer your question, it really has to do with the history of, you know, the generations, who they had worked with from a primary care, pediatric care, you know, the whole 9 yards, so specialty care. So it's not unique in that regard, but I understand your question. It's like, okay, how's that work? And it really had to do with the coverage in the past had steered them toward the UW.
And then my only other question, and this is just for knowledge-based situation, with COVID, with the federal government picking up a lot of the costs of COVID, during that time, was our usage heavy or light, would you say, outside of COVID related?
We, from a village standpoint, utilization-wise, have been using more dollars in claims than we've been paying in premium. So if you look at it from sheer dollars, the answer is heavy. If you look at it from a frequency or from a prevention standpoint, I'd say relatively light. So moving forward, the hope in some of the wellness efforts are around, let's get the engagement on prevention, because that'll help lower the future large claims and some of the other components. But I know what your question is, because we saw a dip in overall frequency, but we didn't see a dip in overall dollars spent.
Got it, okay. All right, with that, I'm gonna make the motion to renew the village's health insurance benefit through courts for the plan year 2023 while adding an employee choice of option 2 and option 3 and increasing the HSA contributions to $2,650, $5,300 for option 2 and $2,900, $5,800 for option 3 as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we're gonna go with Aaron as the second. Any other comments, questions? Okay, I'll call the order. Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Jared, good job filling in for Todd, too. I knew you were gonna present anyway, but good job. All right.
Thanks, Al.
You can stay, again. Sorry. Okay. All right, next we have discuss and take action on agreement with Waunakee Community School District related to parking area adjacent to the former library. I don't think we're.
So my expectation is I don't believe that we have the ability to go into closed session for item 3. I don't think that we will go into closed session, or at least it's my recommendation to go into closed session for item 4.
Okay.
Okay, so with respect to the agreement, that is on pages 17 through 23 of your packet. This is the parking lot lease agreement, so it would be the sliver of land, I believe just to the south of the former library building. This particular agreement, we worked on it with school district staff and the school district attorney. The agreement that's in your packet has been approved by the school district. As we were going through the process, the document was shared with the food pantry and with the neighborhood connection. They did have a few comments that were incorporated into the document. They signed off, essentially, even though they're not a party to the actual agreement. They signed off on this version that's in your packet as acceptable to them, and it is consistent with the lease agreement that you've already approved for the food pantry. I think we have an expectation that the proposed lease with the neighborhood connection may come to you for your next board meeting. I'm certainly willing to answer any questions you may have about the agreement, but essentially what it does is what would happen is if you approve this, if you look at subsection 1 on page 1, the parking lot work has already been completed by the village, and that was something that you approved at a prior meeting. We would then quitclaim that sliver of land back to the school district. I've already drafted that document, showed it to the school district attorney. She signed off on it. So when I think Todd gets back on Thursday, he would sign that quitclaim deed. We would get it filed with the Register of Deeds office. You know, if you approve this document, I would expect it signed with, that Todd would sign it, consistent with Mr. Gutenberg signing it on behalf of the school district, and we would be able to utilize the parking area for the food pantry and the neighborhood connection, consistent with what they believe their use requirements are.
So all in all, we got to a good spot.
Yes.
Sam, any questions?
Nope.
Joe?
Nope.
Aaron? Phil? Karen? Nyla?
Glad we got to the finish line. Thank you.
Okay, with that, do we have a motion?
Move to approve the parking lot lease agreement between the village and school district and to authorize village administrator to sign the agreement on behalf of the village.
Second.
Motion by Phil Williams, second by Nyla Fry. Any other comments?
The only thing that I would add to that is just, and everyone knows, we would also execute the quitclaim deed too, that would convey the land back to the school district.
Does that need to be part of the motion? or-
No, it doesn't. It's just,
Okay.
it's consistent with the agreement. I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have discuss and take action on claim by Anthony Gallagher.
So this is a claim that's been filed pursuant to the notice of claims provisions in the Wisconsin statutes against the village. I guess I would rather have a discussion with you in closed session on that. I don't know what you're gonna do. I know that we have a recommendation. I would not anticipate that we would come back into closed session and take action. I think in all likelihood, we would take action in closed session, but I guess that's the update that I can provide at this point.
Okay, do I read or do we make
Yep.
the motion first?
Yep. I would read the language of that.
Okay.
Could
The
could I clarify one thing? Is there a reason that we need to take action in closed session versus,
Well, I would say this, I would like to have the conversation with you in closed session and then let you make that determination.
okay,
Okay,
that's fine.
okay. The village board may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.851G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the village board, who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the village board with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. The village board may reconvene in open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. So then we need a motion to go into closed session.
To convene in closed session.
I'll second it.
Motion by Sam Kaufman, second by Nyla Fry. Roll call vote.
Nyla Fry,
Yes.
Gary Hersberg,
Yes.
Phil Willems,
Yes.
Chris Zellner,
Yes.
Aaron Moran,
Yes.
Joe Zisselsberger,
Yes.
and Sam Kaufman.
Yes.
So if it helps, to the extent that we are gonna come reconvene in closed session, I would anticipate that this is gonna be a very short discussion, at least from my perspective.
Okay. Okay, we are back in session at 6:50.
So I would just note, we had a short discussion regarding the claim filed by Mr. Gallagher, and I believe the village board is ready to take action on that claim.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny the claim by Anthony Gallagher.
I'll
Motion by
second.
Sam Kaufman, second by Aaron Moran. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I move to adjourn. I'll second it.
Motion to adjourn by Aaron Moran, second by Nyla Fry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Guess the
Ayes have
girls
it.
wanna go watch the football game.
Yes.